Okay, people. Just a quick exam. What did you ask for? What did I ask for? You pray. Other people pray. You don't know what other people pray, but you ask for prayers all the time. If you pray for somebody's enlightenment or understanding, then that's going to be doled out. But you don't get to define how it's doled out, even as how it might then affect you. These are things that you never consider. When I asked my Father to help us because we needed Him, was I just speaking about me and my Holy Spirit, that which comprises me? Because there are many that work within me and are about me and whatnot, and are representative of you as I actually examine them. And at the same time, sometimes I know that when I'm looking at something, I'm looking at something outside of the scope of just that which is me, because it involves you. See, these are truths that we need to hold as self-evident if you're going to call yourself being studied and schooled and aware of what it is to be psychic and a medium and all that kind of stuff, and you're making connections. Because that which comprises you in spiritual awareness, which is no different, which comprises the Most High, because everything is encompassed within Him. Therefore, He knows exactly what it is and how it's working, because His own I am, His ego, as you might like to put it, knows exactly what's going on within His own mindset. We have that capability in and amongst ourselves, but we have to get out of our own way in order to view it appropriately. To have a conversation with somebody doesn't mean you're always going to land on the same page, because you're coming at it from a different perspective, which is what I talked about earlier. Even as I was talking to my barber yesterday, he was saying some stuff, and he was saying, I'm relaying to you from a different experience, relating to you, something you said, because he remembered what I said. So now, it's beholden to me to also remember, first and foremost, not just what I said, but now to listen to what he's attempting to say, because we are individualized souls in expression. You claim that you see all this stuff, but at the same time, you're at odds with one another, even as you call yourself being spiritually aware. Well, how aware are you if you shut down somebody else just because you don't understand where they're coming from? Because for all your studying, for all your awareness, for all your work on self, you fail to do any work on the relationships that you never were able to master in understanding. You said they had a problem. Yeah, they had a problem with you in communication. You had a problem with them the same. And you did nothing to try and self-correct that. In fact, you did what most people do. You end friendships. That's why I laugh at you when you say, well, I'll just, end this friendship. I mean, there's people I ain't done nothing. I haven't done anything to them. I mentioned them in a post, but they gone. Dr. Fister left. Why? Because I told him I learned something from him as it related to his family, who I liked. And he saw, well, I need to separate myself from him. That's fine. But see, that doesn't mean that later on down the line, Dr. Fister's not going to come back hat in hand and say, I understand what you're talking about now, and I want to reclaim that friendship. No, it's not as simple as that. Because the thing is, once I acknowledge that you left, I have to acknowledge why you left. And it's not about you just saying you're sorry, because I don't care about the fact that you're sorry, because you're sorry anyway. We're all sorry in our experience, in our expression here and today. See, the people I have more respect for are the people who stick it out, not the ones who tuck tail and run. because they sat there and said, well, I don't subscribe to that belief. But then at the same time, they're also the same ones who sitting there praying to the Most High, angels, Jesus, or whatever they can get their hands on in their time of need. That's called using a bitch. And you ain't using this one. So now, if you think I'm stone crazy and you think it's best you divorce yourself from me, I suggest you do just that. Because you have not studied to show yourself approved, and because your life is so good, you don't realize how it's going to turn on a dime. And if you don't understand that, just pay attention to what's going on in the news. None of these people that got shot up at those 2 mosques in Christchurch expected that to happen. None of those airlines that crashed expected that to happen. Nobody who lost their homes in fires and storms expected that to happen. Nobody expects illness to fall upon them. Nobody expects any of that shit, and you cannot divorce yourself by simply saying, well, I'm just going to think positive thoughts and I'm going to separate myself from people who are not positive. That's bullshit. Because life is always about the yin and the yang. I can tell you that for a fact, because the thing is, for all my good fortune, which I try to focus on, I've had my share of misfortune, which I don't want to focus on, but I seem to think weighs me down. And he's like, no, don't worry about that. Now, at some point in time, I have to break with my own struggle and take my father at his word. Because the thing is, I remember more times than not what it's like when people tell you something and they don't do it. Now, I'm not about people. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about people. Christ didn't go to the cross without knowing he was going to the cross. He asked, if it be your will, please let this cup pass me by. He knew it was coming. But he did it anyway. Because the thing is, he was not separated from the Father. That's all I would tell you. I never wanted to be separated from him. He talks to me 24/7. He keeps me grounded. Despite my little temper tantrums and all that stuff. Despite, your ability to sit there and say, well, I just won't be his friend anymore. No problem. But what you don't seem to get is, see, he doesn't do that. What he does is he, figures out where you want to go based upon the works you've done and the ties you've cut and things of that nature. If you don't want to do the work, you don't want to do the work. That's fine. He has no problem with that. And it has nothing to do with the fact that you just don't believe. It has to do with the fact that you just say, look, because you can say you're a good person and still be on my friends list. We can be in disagreement and still be on our friends list, because at the same time, you have to realize this is a country that was founded upon all manner of ideology. And at the same time, nobody seems to still want to step up and take responsibility for what they did to the indigenous people that live here. Much less the ones who used to occupy this territory and trying to make their way back as a refuge. So you can sit there and say, well, that ain't my problem because I didn't do it. Oh, but you contributed to, what is it, the perpetuation or the continuation of a narrative? So really, that's not a get out of jail free card for you to sit there and say, I didn't do it. Your ancestry did. And you're proud of that. That's why you got so many ancestors, right? Or sites and tests and stuff trying to figure out where you came from. Those were your people. If you're going to own your history, own all of it, including that which is ugly. And don't forget, World War II, you did segregate black people to the point that they had to have their own, air squad? Because you didn't want to really fight in the trenches with them? And my father was a World War II veteran. They were a segregated group. So don't act like, everybody is one just under the military flag. or the flag of this nation, this great nation that we all are supposedly saluting and standing for. Because you want to sit there and crucify somebody like a Colin Kaepernick, and sitting there saying there's still injustice in this country, which we should be addressing before we can sit there and flap our gums about what's going on overseas. Don't talk to me about bullshit, people. Don't talk to me about historical facts. Don't talk to me about the fact that you didn't turn fire hoses, or your ancestry turned fire hoses on people, and they were police officers and firemen, first responders, like you, that you say is supposed to be celebrated now. Teachers and more. You did all that shit your ancestry did. They did it to people of color, and they did it to people who were so-called sympathizers to people of color. That doesn't bode well for you in an argument that you say, I didn't do it. You came from that bloodline, and you still have that bloodlust, and it's still represented today, whether you want to see it or not. That's you refusing to look at yourself in the mirror. That's you refusing to accept that which you inherited. The sins of the father and the daughters are visited upon the sons and the daughters, from their mothers as well as the fathers. It's a perpetuation of a cycle. If you're sitting there talking about abuse in your home, a vicious cycle you need to break, you need to understand there's a greater cycle that needs to be broken too, and you ain't working on that. You're just giving lip service to it, trying to figure out how you're going to fix it, but at the same time you say it ain't for you to fix, and at the same time it ain't money you want to spend. But you do want somebody to rebuild your house. We'll see about that. Right here, countdown. And weather's nice here. Tomorrow's supposed to be in the 80s. They said some more rain coming. They ain't really worried about a storm. I'm not really worried about a storm, but I still get this nagging feeling about an earthquake up north. And I still, because they talked about that volcano, and I know I dreamt about a volcano as I was writing, and the people were fleeing. I was here in California when that was going on. He said they ain't seen shit yet. I'm my father's son. He is the architect of creation. If he tells Mother Earth, have at it, she will. Because she's tired. She's tired of your shit. You don't know how I dream. You don't know what I see. And you don't know what they tell me. But I'm telling you. And my people will not perish for lack of knowledge. They will receive the word, and they will prepare themselves accordingly for the rest of you. Oh well. You always have your playing cards, don't you? That gut feeling that you have that leads you astray, and trusting in spirits that you think are familiar, but at the same time are suspect in the information they relay. Oh, I know all about that. I told you. He flipped the script, and he did it with you in attendance. Because he said, we ain't never did this before. I have rescripted the world while the people are living it. I didn't destroy it and then start a new program. No. I overlaid another one with the second coming. Because with the first coming, you died, left, came back, showed them that you had resurrected, and said, now go out and teach all this stuff. But this time, no, you brought all the shit back. You ain't dying again. And if they want to know some shit, they believe you fuck along and start listening and sharing your word. That's the only option they have. Do you get where I'm coming from? If not, I suggest you pick up a book or two and start reading. Have a nice evening.